Hi guys, this is Angel Tia here from Simply Angel Tia. I wanted to quickly show you guys how I do the magic circle. There's two ways that I go for usually. One I tend to use more than the other and I prefer it more than the other. And the other one is also an option in case you need to use that one. So I'm going to show you the one that I prefer first. So for those of you who are new, so a magic circle is pretty much a circle that you're making to work into. And the reason it's called a magic circle is for most people, at least for this one that I'm using usually, is the fact that I can start the whole big and I can make it smaller, or I can extend it in between it, or in within the little circle I can expand it or make it smaller. So this is why I call it a magic circle. I came to learn the other way to be called a magic circle as well. I think it's just an alternative way of doing a magic circle. So I will show you guys how I do it first. The first thing is make sure you have a little bit of a longer tail that you're leaving behind. Don't start here, because if you start here you may not have enough space to expand your hole in case you need to. So the first trick is to make sure you have a decent amount of yarn left. So then you just do your normal slip knot like you usually would, like that. So this is how I do my slip knot. Okay, I create a space, I have an X here, I make sure I hold it between my middle finger and my thumb, and then I take my hook and I put it in that hole, and then I yarn over and I bring it through and I keep that hole open. So that is my magic circle. This is my magic circle right here. So let's say then I was going to work about, let's say I'm going to work 10 double crochets into this. Then what I would do is I would do a chain of 2 here, and then I would do my my double crochet. So that would be, usually a chain 2 counts as a double crochet, so that would make it 2 then, and then 3 and 4. And keep in mind, as you can see here, I'm holding this space open as I go. I'm not letting it go because I'm working into that hole in the middle. Okay, so you just continue to do your double crochets into the hole, so that way you keep it open and everything, all your 10 stitches go into the same space. And I will show you guys how after I'm done my 10, and you could do as many stitches in this magic circle as possible, especially with this technique of doing it the way I just showed you guys here, is you can expand that hole as big as you want it, which I find with other techniques, if you have let's say you do, I will show you how to do that, but let me just finish this. I don't want to confuse you guys between the two. But like, let's say I continue to do my stitches into this space here. I'm not sure how many I have by now, but I will count. And then when you have established the number of stitches that are required to go into the magic circle, so let's say here 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12. Let's just say I wanted to do 12. Okay, so you guys see that it looks like this, but I have my string hanging here, and if I was to pull that, then I close the hole like that. And so if I was to work a round project where I'm gonna go and join it to this side and continue working around, then all I would need to do here is slip stitch in the first stitch of the other side, and then I have my circle like that. I have the base of my circle to then do whatever else I need to do. So let's say this project requires me to continue doing double crochets, then I will go ahead and do another chain of 2, and then in this stitch here I will do a double crochet. Okay, just like that, and then I will continue to do double crochets on top of each stitch from the previous row until I get to the beginning again, and then I'll do the same thing where I slip stitch on top of the previous double crochet stitch to close it off. And then that's just how we continue to do it. Okay, so let me just go all the way around here, and then I'll show you guys how it looks like. And often when you're doing something like this, it's going to be like a hat or something that needs to curve in, because if you wanted to have something that is flat, you have to do some increasing somewhere, because otherwise this is exactly as you guys can see here, starting to fold inwards, which means I'm not increasing, and therefore I'm doing something that requires it to come inward like this. So usually make it like a beanie or like a basket or something that you want it to come in like this. So as you see, I have completed to the end. So that if I slip stitch on top of the previous double crochet like this, then this is what I would have. So as you guys see here, then I have that. Okay, so this is one way of doing the magic circle. Okay, and again, the main thing is that you can actually open and close the middle. So let's say I want to make the middle wider for some reason. If I just keep going into that little space in the middle and keep expanding it, it's gonna start to get bigger. As you can see here, it's gonna start to get bigger because this is not tied to anything. I can start to make that hole bigger, but I can also just pull it to make it close. So that is one way that I do my magic circle. And by the way too, let me just undo some of it. So let's say you're going to do something that is like a triangle. Okay, so let's undo some of this. Let's say you wanted to do something that is a triangle, and that's at the beginning of your triangle here. So if you do the same technique, then what you would do here is you would then, whatever you do, so chain, however, turn, and then work up like this, whatever the design or the pattern you're using, and then you're able to work up like this. Okay, so this is, you can also do the magic circle when you're doing either a circle, a square, or a triangle. Okay, but if you were to do the magic circle the other way that I have used before is where you do a number of chains. So it's important when you're using this technique to know how many stitches you're going to be putting in the magic circle. If you don't know that number in advance, it's best for you to use the technique I just showed you. The reason why, let's say I do a chain of 4, so a magic circle first, a slip stitch first, or a slip knot I should say. So a slip knot first, and then let's say I do a chain of 4, so 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, or 5, let's do 5. So you start with a chain like that, and then you slip stitch in the first chain that you started with, and do a slip stitch like that. So this is now the hole that you work into. Okay, and then if you're to do the same thing we did previously, which is to work your double crochets into this hole, then you'll do a chain of 2 and then just work your double crochets into that chain 4 hole that you created, or a hole that is made of chain 4, and then slip stitch to make the circle. And if you do your 10 double crochets in here, then at some point you're gonna really struggle. That's what I find. Unless you do a hole that is big enough to begin with, you're going to at some point struggle to put as many in the hole because you're limited in the hole. The space in the hole would be limited, as opposed to the technique that I showed you previously, where you can just move the string, you can expand the hole or you can tighten the hole. That is simply why I prefer the other technique over this one. So if I continue to do this, and I remember I did a chain 5 to create this space here. Okay, I'm not sure how many double crochets I've up to here, but let me just stop and count. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So let's just be consistent and do 12 like we did the other one. So if I did 12 like this with a chain 5, as you can see, this space here, you cannot shut it. There's no way you can pull or do anything to make that completely go closed. So you're left with this space here. Okay, so you have to be mindful of that. If that is the intention is to have a hole left like this, then all good, then you can do that. But with the other technique, if I wanted to just close this hole, then I would just have to pull the string and this hole will go completely shut. It will completely go like this. But so this is the difference between these two techniques. And also, if you were to continue putting more stitches into this hole, the wider it's gonna get, because you're opening it wider and wider and wider, or at least stretching it out. And at the end, you're going to have a much bigger hole in the middle the more stitches that you put into it. And that is just the experience that I've had with these type of this type of magic circle. Okay, so as you can see here, I added a lot more stitches, and as you can see, seems like the hole is much bigger. It's almost the same, but it's a lot, in my opinion, it looks like it's a lot bigger. So yeah, so these are the two things that I use for magic circle, and it's the same thing. So let me undo. Let's say you're going to do a triangle. Let's say you're doing a shawl and you needed to do, let's say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9, let's say 10. Let's say you needed to start by doing 10 double crochets in the magic circle. Okay, it's the same thing here. You cannot close this hole with this technique. This hole stays there. So when you finish your shawl or whatever it is that you do that is a triangle, you're going to be left with this. So these two techniques, I use these very rarely. This second part that I showed you, very rarely, because of this reason, because of the hole not being able to shut completely. Okay, so that's it. I wanted to show you guys these two ways of doing a magic circle, and yeah, so hopefully you will understand the two ways. If you prefer one than the other, it's obviously okay, but at least you have two options of how you can use these two ways of doing magic circle to start your projects. Okay, all right, thank you so much. Ciao, ciao.